Good day, folks, and welcome to the IT Way. My name is Joanne, and today we have a very good episode. Today we're going to troubleshoot Client VPN. Since we have the coronavirus lately and we have a lot of remote workers across the whole globe, I think that this is a very good moment for me to help you to troubleshoot any client VPN problems that you might have. So we're going to go through different scenarios. We're going to go from the beginning when the client is not able to access to a client VPN server, in this case the Security Appliance MX, because it's not reaching the MX, or you have a problem with the security part, you got a problem with the configuration, with authentication. So we're going to go to the main aspects. I'm going to help you and guide you through the packet capture so you can understand what is every frame in every packet, and that way you can see what the problem is relying on. I'm going to show you the complete client VPN connection, and at the end you're going to see a healthy client VPN, so you can compare that with any problem that you might have during the troubleshooting phase that you're facing. In that way you can see what is your problem, where your problem relies on. So I'm going to show you that. Today we will cover different scenarios with client VPN issues. The first one, we're going to see when the client VPN is not accessing the VPN server on the MX. Here you can see my configuration for client VPN, the subnet, the share secret, the dedication, and the list of the users downstream. Now, I'm going to try to client VPN from my machine here, so you will see the options. Here you can see the option for client VPN. You can go through the documentation from Cisco Meraki to know how to configure this one here in the Mac OS and the client VPN for Windows or any other device. I have this configuration here. For me, this is the server address of the MX. Right now I'm using private IP addresses because I have my lab here, but this one should be the public IP address if you're trying to client VPN from outside of your network. My username from my list of the MXs. Here is going to be the password of the username, and here the share secret. You're going to see the behavior when I'm trying to connect. After I'm attempting to connect, you will see this error message. Here it says that the server did not respond. Here in macOS, you see that message. In Windows 10, you're going to see different message saying that this attempt failed because the security layer encountered a processing error during initial negotiations, or the server cannot be reached. So it's the same behavior across the board in different devices. When that happens, the first thing that we have to try to see if we truly reach the device. Now, I'm going to give you some guidelines for you to have all the power and the knowledge for the event logs from MX, so you don't have to relate too much of the event logs from the device. So if we go to the event log, the first thing that we have to know is if we see that communication coming from the device to the MX. In my case, the IP address of this machine is 192.168.50.100, so I have to go through it to see if there is 1.50.100 communication in the event logs. As you can see, the latest communication was with 203, which is the max, and the 50.7. So the client that I'm seeing in the event logs is 50.7. It's not my client. As you can see, that was a client that was associated before. So it looks like that my client is not reaching the max. And that's the first point. And it's the same thing that our event logs was saying. When you try to authenticate, it says that it's not able to reach out to the server. So this is the first point, this first behavior. It looks like the device is not able to reach out the server. To confirm that and have that information, what you can do is use the power of the dashboard. What we're going to do now is we're going to take packet captures in the internet interface of the MX to confirm that we are not receiving those packets. We're going to make MX1 IT. We're going to take it for 60 seconds, and then we're going to try to connect again. If this is the private IP address, or in your case, the public IP address of the MX, we should see that traffic traversing through the internet and reaching the MX. But this error message is saying something otherwise. Now stopping the packet capture, downloading it, and open it, we can filter by two things: my IP address that I'm trying to reach out from, or we can start with the port 500. As you can see, there is no traffic, so it looks like we are not reaching the MX. If I filter out by the IP address that I'm using in this device, I can see that I'm not reaching any 500 messages. So it looks like the client VPN is not even reaching out the MX. And that corroborates with the messages that we're receiving on the event logs. To ensure that we have all the configuration in place, you can come here and see what is the IP address of the MX. If you are reaching out from outside, this should be the IP address that you should use. And now since we're reaching from inside, this is the IP address. So here you can see that it finishes 50.203. So going back to my configuration, you can see that this was the problem. If we change it to 203, let's try again. Boom. Now it says that it's connected. So that's how you troubleshoot this side. When you see that the server is not replying, you take a look to the event logs. If you don't see any messages coming from your IP address, and if you take packet captures and you don't see any traffic coming from there, it means that something in the configuration from the device is wrong, or the communication between the device and the server, in this case the MX, in the middle, some devices are blocking that traffic. This time we're going to see a different behavior. This behavior is going to look like this. I'm going to go to my client VPN configuration as we configured previously, and this time I have the 50.3 IP address. So when I go to the IT way, I have the proper public IP address, everything should be fine. I'm trying to connect. It's almost the same behavior that previously, so it takes a time connecting, and then it's going to have an error message. Here you can see that the error message is exactly the same as previously, but the behavior is different, because now we know that the public IP address or the private IP address is correct. So we have to find out what the problem is. As I mentioned, we're going to rely more in the event logs and the packet capture to troubleshoot this, and that way you don't have to rely completely on the event logs that you have on your device, because you can use the Windows machine, you can use the Mac, you can use Android, iOS. So we're going to see everything from the dashboard perspective. Here, the first thing that I'm going to check is to see if that client VPN connection is reaching the MX. So as we previously said, let's go back to the event log and let's see if my 50.3 traffic is hitting the MX at this time. I'm going to go to the new logs. Every time, go and check what is the IP address with the MX. So we know that this is the IP address of the MX, 203. So this 50.7, it means that these event logs are from another device, not the device that we're troubleshooting. So we have to try to find what is the 50.3 event logs. You can see the 50.7. So the ones that we use when we tried was this 50.3, where it's saying to us is that no configuration found and failed to begin the IPsec ASA negotiation. So with this, at least we know that the traffic is hitting the MX, but there's something wrong in the configuration that cannot create the association process. So in this case, you can go to the client VPN troubleshooting guideline for Meraki, and it's going to give you some guidelines on how to troubleshoot this specific message. We're going to go through the packet capture to see what is this about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the packet capture while I'm trying to associate using the client VPN connection. You're going to be here. So while I'm doing this, I'm going to try to connect again, and we're going to check and dissect the client VPN traffic. We have the error message again, so we can stop the packet capture. Okay, so let's take a look at this. We can filter out by the IP address of my device. If you are reaching out from outside, it means that it's going to be your public IP address. And here you can see all the traffic in both directions. So when you initially see this, everything is fine because it's bidirectional. But let's go one by one. So if we can come and start here, you can see that this one is the next payload security association. This one is the same, coming from the server. The key exchange, which is good, is from my device to the server, to the MX. Exchange as well. And here you can see identification coming from my device. After that, you can see the key exchange, identification, key exchange, identification, and you can see that it doesn't go to the next phase. So to give you a little bit more context, so here you can see that the first phase is going to be with the next payload security association. So the device is going to send a security association to the MX, and the response should be the security association response coming from the MX. After that, as we can see, you're going to see the key exchange. So the initiator is going to sense the key exchange, and then the MX is going to respond with that key exchange. Since we saw that everything is fine so far, it means that there is bidirectional communication. After that, you should see the identification one. So the initiator, in this case, the client VPN device, is going to send identification, and it's going to be seeing the response sends for identification response. In this case, we're not seeing after that the hash. It means that the initiator is not sending the hash. So if you dissect this packet capture, you can see that after the identification, the server is not sending the identification. It's just the client. So for some reason, something is going on in the identification phase that is not letting go into the next phase. And that indicates that there is something in the configuration in the client side that is not well. Most of the time is the pre-shared key that is causing this behavior for client VPN. So if we go back and you check the pre-shared key here, just type again, try to put it in the notepad, and that way you don't copy any special characters. You try to do it again, and let's see what happens. As you can see, everything was fine except the pre-shared key, and now it's working. Now that we know that the public or private IP address is correct, the pre-shared key is correct, now we're going to try to access to the client VPN again with the configuration that we have. Here we have all the information. We have the password of the user, the shared secret, and let's go. So let's see what happens now. Now we have a different error message. We have a VPN connection authentication failed. So this is different. It means that our authentication from the user failed. Let's corroborate all that with event logs. So I should see event logs coming from my IP address, which is 50.3. Remember, go through the event logs to see if that's yours event logs. If you can see here is 50.7. So this is not from my machine. I go to the most recent ones, and these are my event logs. So here it looks like the VPN tunnel was established. I can see ESP traffic here. Everything was good. For some reason, the ASA expired and was deleted, and it says failed to begin IPsec ASA negotiation. The same behavior as previously, but now we can see that the ESP is being established. So everything all the way through the pre-shared secret, everything is fine. Now let's dig deeper with the packet capture to see what's going on. What we're going to do is take the packet capture while we're trying to associate to corroborate all that information. 60 seconds again. I'm going to go back, try to connect the same information. I'm going to do it 2 times so we can see it 2 times in the packet capture. Great. I just have to stop it. Let's open it. we're going to filter out by the IP address of our client. In this case, we know that it's a private IP address, but probably in your case, it's coming from the internet, so you have to filter out with the public IP address. We're going to go back again to go through the packet capture. Here you can see the next payload security association. You can see the reply from the MX. That's good. The key exchange started. The reply from the MX. The identification, it means that it's passing the information for identification to create a tunnel. You can see in this time the reply, so they're talking to each other. Now it started with a quick mode. This is the hash, something that we didn't see before. It means that they can create a tunnel now. The pre-shared secret is good because you can see the reply of the hash coming back from the device to the MX. And here you can start seeing the ESP traffic. It means that the tunnel is established, and now they're communicating securely all the username and password to verify that the authentication is coming through. As you can see, it's talking to each other, and when I started again, it started the whole process again. They start talking to each other, and you can see the process again here. So for some reason, something inside of that tunnel, something happened that it came with authentication fail. So now we see from the packet capture that the tunnel was established and everything is correct and is bidirectional traffic. So something inside of that tunnel created this problem. And as the message says, it's something with authentication. So it could be the username or the password that is incorrect. In that case, you just have to go to the Client VPN list, ensure that the username that you have here is the same one that you have configured here. And ensure as well that when you go to authentication here, that the password that you took in the other side is the same one as you're applying here. So if you apply the password correctly, you should see this. Now, I would like to cover the healthy process of the Client VPN connection, so you can see everything from the beginning to the end, now that we covered the main parts for the troubleshooting scenarios. So now what we're going to do is connect, since we know that everything is fine and proper. Here you can see the connection. If we go here in the event logs, what you should see is this message: VPN connected. It's going to give you the IP address, the test that you're going to use, the ID, and your IP address. When you disconnect, you should see this message. To corroborate and see what is the healthy status, what we're going to do is take packet captures while we're trying to connect, so you can see the whole process from the beginning to the end. We're going to take packet captures as before. We're going to start the process. Here you can see that it's connected. What we'll do is disconnect, stop the packet captures, and let's take a look to the packet captures. Here I know what is my IP address. In your case, probably is the public IP address coming from the internet. And here we can start seeing the whole process in the beginning. So you know that the first packet is the security association. So remember, next payload, security association coming from the device to the MX. Next one, same next payload, security association, but now it's coming from the MX to the client. The next phase is the key exchange. They're going to exchange these keys, first from the client to the MX, and later on from the MX to the client. Other phase is identification, the one that we were failing before, remember. Now it's from the client to the MX, and from the MX to the client. Lastly is going to be the hash. So you're going to see the hash from the client to the MX to the client to the MX. And after that is all the VPN traffic encrypted. So you can see all the ESP traffic. If you have this packet capture, it means that everything is well, is good. And if you see it connected here, it means that everything is fine and the username and password was correct. So that's how it should look like a client VPN connection when everything is fine. And that's how you troubleshoot client VPN scenarios. As you were able to see, here we tackle the client VPN problems coming from the MX event logs and the packet captures that you can take. And that can help you for all the client VPN problems that you may have, regardless of the client. Because you can have Windows clients, you can have the client VPN coming from iOS, or Android, or even macOS, and that is not going to be a problem regarding the troubleshooting steps that we mentioned before. Because at the end, you can see everything that is passing or everything that is happening in the client VPN connection with the client VPN packet captures and the event logs. As well, I'm going to provide more documentation coming from the documentation portal from Cisco Meraki, and any additional information, you're going to see it down below in the comments. If you have any problem that we didn't cover here, please give us a note, put it in the comments below. I'm going to help you in the process. And that's how you troubleshooting client VPN in the Meraki way. See you in the next one.